Let's move on here to give kind of an update on the NFL draft, which as we are recording this, Matt, is less than a week away. I want to kind of to add, I don't have my mock draft here. I've decided I'm going to wait until middle of part of next week before sharing that to my final mock draft. But the way I've seen this and have been following it, and we talked about this a little bit the other day, but as far as the key for Dallas here that I see now, short of the Cowboys moving up and making a big splash, the way I see this draft, based on everything that I can see and follow from the quote experts, there's two words here that are going to affect Dallas that you may want to watch on Thursday night, okay, before they get on the clock, and that's Jeremiyah Love. Okay. And we mentioned him briefly the other day, and I mentioned him in my mock about how I see him based on needs potentially falling late in the first round. As this has gone on, I don't think it's going to be that drastic of a fall for him. He's just too talented of a player, a top 3 player in this draft for sure, talent-wise. But as far as Dallas, because of that, there really are no can't-miss standout type offensive players outside of the couple of offensive tackles, the one from Miami and there's a couple from Utah actually too as well. But I don't necessarily see those being top 6, 7 guys the way the draft falls now. So here's the key. If Jeremiyah Love goes in the first 11 picks, that's a quality defensive player that is still going to be on the board for Dallas. If he is not drafted in the first 11, I think you could see the Cowboys sitting there having to make a tough choice of either taking someone that they don't really want to take at 12 or trying to trade out of that spot. Which, as we get closer, to me, it's like if for some reason the Cowboys can't find a way to end up with a Caleb Downs or a Sonny Styles or even an Arvell Reese out of this thing, the 3 guys from Ohio State, that for me personally, as a fan sitting here watching it on Thursday night, I'm saying get out of there. Get you a couple more picks, trade back if you can find somebody, because sitting there at 12, if those guys are gone and the draft falls in a way that, again, Jeremiyah Love doesn't take one of those 11 spots in front of you from someone, man, I don't know that there's anyone sitting there that's worth a number 12 at that point.
Yeah, in that scenario, if those 3 guys are gone in the first 11 picks, you have 2 choices as the Cowboys. You trade or you take Jeremiyah Love. And I know they need defense. I know the defense is the problem. I also know that the likelihood of you drafting somebody at 12 that suddenly changes your defense from bad to good is 0%. The likelihood of you drafting 2 defensive guys at 12 and 20 and changing your defense from bad to good is maybe 2%. The idea of you adding Jeremiyah Love to that offense and it going from very good to elite, maybe the best in the NFL, is a much higher percentage. And I am always in favor of building on what you're really good at. And the Cowboys were a really good offensive team last year. Yes, they need defense, but at the end of the day, you're going to have players that you're going to have to scheme your way through coaching into being acceptable, into being something that doesn't lose the game for you. That's the best you can hope for on defense. And I don't care who you draft. You're not going to become the defense that they were a few years ago with Michael Parsons and with Trayvon Diggs. And you're not going to become that this year. It doesn't matter what you do in this draft. So I completely agree. If one of those guys is not available, I'm either trading, which is probably the more likely scenario, or if Love's there. I mean, it worked with CeeDee Lamb. It worked. We didn't need a receiver, but it worked.
And I agree with you on that 100%. If your guy is not there, if you can't find a suitable trade, and when I say suitable trade, I mean I need a 2nd-round pick, I need your 1st-round pick, where I get to keep 2 first-rounders potentially, and maybe a 4th or 5th if I can get that in this draft, because I believe there's, and this is widely known and been talked about, there's way more value in this draft, more so than any draft I can remember, in the third, fourth, fifth rounds that is not available there in the first round, right? As I've said, there's maybe 15 first round grade type players on the board based on what I can see. And so, yeah, I'm with you. If you can't find the trade that gives you all of that, I mean, yeah, why not take the best player available at that point, who's going to make you a better offense? I agree with you on that. I just hope you don't sit there and you reach for something just because we say, well, we need defense. There's other ways of improving that, although they haven't done that. You either need more picks or you need to go, I've almost talked myself out of being aggressive and moving up because of your lack of draft capital, right? I mean, you don't have anything. I mean, that's basically your draft if you do that. And so it'd be interesting to see, but again, watch where Jeremiyah Love goes. If Jeremiyah Love goes in the first 10 and takes one of those spots that are going to go to a defensive player, it's a good night for the Cowboys. If he doesn't, then they're going to be faced with the ones either, as you said, do we take him as he's sitting there staring at us, or do we try to trade out of this pick? But anyway, wanted to mention that. And then just here, before we close out on this draft stuff, ESPN has come out with an article today, this morning actually, written by Matt Miller. And it's an NFL mock draft of the first 10 picks that are done by anonymous scouts and executives in the league who are not set to pick in the top 10. Okay. The rules on this were, again, they weren't unaffiliated with any of the teams they were assigned, and then the scouts are anonymous, and so there are no trades. They didn't make any trades. But of course, again, the least surprising thing about this will be who the Raiders take at number 1. That's Fernando Mendoza. He'll go to the Raiders, and I think that's a great pick, even though I don't think he's the best player in the draft, but that's a great pick for the Raiders. At number 2, they have Arvell Reese, the edge from Ohio State. Again, he's one of these guys that if he starts to fall, I could see Dallas being aggressive and going up to try to get him. But I don't see him falling out of the top 5. They also come up with your guy, David Bailey from Texas Tech, going to the Cardinals at 3, even though they tremendous need for offensive help. I think Bailey's too good for them to pass up here if they don't trade out of this spot. I could see them being a trade candidate. According to this, Matt, it falls great for the Cowboys because at number 4, they select for the Tennessee Titans, Jeremiyah Love. Okay. Put him in that offense with Cam Ward, I think is a tremendous thing. I personally can't see Robert Saleh passing on a defensive player at this spot, but there is no question. At this point, number 4, in my book, Jeremiyah Love's the best player on your board. He has to be. They have the Giants here taking Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. I kind of feel, based on everything I hear, that the Giants are going to be in on Sonny Styles or a defensive player here. But, man, that would be an interesting pick for them, pairing that guy with Malik Neighbors for Jackson Dart. Yeah. They may go wide receiver there. This is the pick that everyone says could be the spot where Dallas jumps in, especially if Styles falls past the Giants, okay? But this is Cleveland, and this pick has them taking the offensive tackle out of Miami, Francis Mauigoa, going to the Browns. At number 7, this is where they have Sonny Styles going to the Commanders. I almost called them the Redskins. Forgive me on that, I guess, but it's habit of 55-plus years or whatever. But Sonny Styles, they have him going to the Redskins on this mock draft. I just did it. I just said Redskins. We'll move on.
You're doing so good.
Number 8 with the Saints. They have going. This was a mystery to me, but Jamad McCoy. I don't know if you've been following this kid from Tennessee. Based on what you see on tape from his 2024 season, of course, he didn't play last year. He was hurt. He had a bad knee, knee surgery. They have him going here at number 8. I've seen mock drafts and listened to draft experts that have him potentially falling out, not of just the first round, but the second round because of his knee. He does not have good reports on that knee. But according to this draft, whoever did this for the Saints, this was an AFC South area scout mocks this kid going to the Saints.
AFC
That's ahead
or
of Mansour
NFC?
Delane. He's an AFC South. AFC
Oh,
South. So
okay.
the AFC scout. AFC North is an area scout pick for the Chiefs. And he sends them Reuben Bain, the edge out of Miami. I'm not so sure about that. I think they may go cornerback there or even get Pat Mahomes some help offensively. I could see Jeremiyah Love going to them if he's on the board. I could see that. At number 10 here, the final pick in this mock, they have Caleb Downs going to the Bengals at number 10. And so, yeah, at that stage, not only do you have Jeremiyah Love off the board, you have all three of the Ohio State defenders off the board.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm thinking, Dallas, please trade out and get more picks. You're going to need them. You're going to have to carpet bomb this thing at that point. But, man, I love this time of year. Draft season, man, gets me going. I always have just played around and did a mock draft, and this outlet now has given me an opportunity to share that, well, good or bad. But don't ever take what I tell you for sure. It's just kind of fun to share it. And I'll share my final one. My final prediction for next week on the first round. I'll